Hello, my name is Susan Lane from Quest Technologies, and I'm here to talk to you today about the Enterprise Data Intelligence solution from Erwin. Perhaps you've heard of Erwin Evolve or Erwin Data Modeler, best-of-breed technologies that help us with business process modeling as well as enterprise data architecture. And I'm here to talk about DI. This is an extension to those products, so it's completely integrated, where you can leverage that information to begin your data intelligence program. The data intelligence suite includes a data catalog for all of your metadata needs, understanding how information is represented from your legacy systems all the way out to your new modern big data lake environments, as well as support for data quality. So you can get an understanding and a reading on the data elements and where the data elements, good or bad data, is propagating and where it came from. And then finally, data literacy. So our data literacy application includes a business glossary and a lot of bells and whistles around that business glossary to help business users understand the information around their data and how that data is formatted. And throughout the suite, we have a lot of UI additions that help end users collaborate together and search and find that data information very easily, as well as support for lineage all the way from the source to the target and the ETL parsing in between. On top of the core capabilities of a data catalog, we offer some acceleration that help you just dive in one step deeper. So if you're just starting your data intelligence program, the fastest, most foolproof way to really intellectualize the data and your users is to draw on the knowledge and experience from those data architects, those business analysts that have been demystifying the data in these environments for decades. So the data literacy accelerators help us integrate the information from the data models, the logical business and conceptual understanding of the data, as well as the business process information into your data intelligence program. And if you even want to go all the way of bringing in a BI reporting environment and creating a BI reporting glossary, there are tools to automate that as well. From a mind mapping perspective, this is a feature that's really new to data intelligence programs, and it gives you a controlled view of understanding your business information as it folds out into the technical environments. So we too use our accelerators as well as AI to rationalize that physical information and make that connection, but the mind map is the outcome of all that great integration. Auto code generation, if you're looking at data lineage and you really want to perform some action besides seeing that static map of where the data comes from and where it goes to, we can reverse engineer as well as create code from the actual data lineage itself. And then finally, if you're a big believer in Data Vault, lots of things that we can do from a Data Vault perspective, including creating your entities, providing support for lineage and governance, and creating DDL, DML, and ETL within that, say, Snowflake environment. So finally, before I get to the demo, I just want to say that we've been seeing business glossary and data governance programs take 6 to 9 months to really get started and off the ground, and we want to jumpstart that. So by bringing in and integrating with our best-of-breed data modeling and business process modeling capabilities, you're going to see auto classification around critical data, around your sensitive and PI information, your logical data definitions, and being able to see those logical data definitions in the business lineage is going to help you understand your data pipelines, where they're sourced, where that data is going to, what's happening to it in a business terminology representation. So we really feel like to have the highest caliber of understanding, you can leverage what you already have. With that, and I'm going to go straight into the demo. Okay, if I'm a business analyst or an engineer that wants to integrate some data, understand where the best data is inside of my organization, or maybe do some forensics around, hey, where is this bad data propagating? Where do I have a lot of complexity and what do I need to improve upon in my data program? I'm going to start off by either doing a simple search or turning one of these cards and going right into business terms, regulations, rules, etc. Or I might want to browse by asset ratings to start to understand where I have good data, what makes it good data, and where I might have some complexity. I can also browse by tags or save favorites and come in and subscribe and check on some of my pipelines and some of my critical data on a regular basis. So let's turn back the business policies card here, and I can comb through all of my business policies, or I can do an Amazon search and categorize the information and go right into my policies pertaining to CCPA, for instance. Or maybe I want to look at my information or another data steward's information or some tagging or again, some ratings. So my data privacy policy, these are just some quick data facts. If it's liked, how well liked it is, how it's rated, as well as a description about that data privacy. Digging in a little bit deeper, I can see who owns this policy, the last time that it was updated, and I can go over to my action center, and this is the spot where we would do some end user collaboration around that data privacy policy. So here we're seeing to-do tasks as well as requests for access to the data around my data privacy policy and report any issues that I'm seeing around this data policy. Back to my home screen, I now want to go into the mind map. So the mind map is where, again, we're rationalizing that business and technical information. And I like to start here, where it's more of a conceptual overview of that business data privacy policy. And I can click on any of these to expand that. So if I expand on business terms, I can start to see the context and then expand from there and see any rules associated with customer, any business processes, any columns. Can expand here and see all the columns related to this customer business term. And I can drill in, and I'm also starting to get an indication as to the quality, because I mentioned before, we have data quality profiling metrics embedded in the views. So you can start to see where you might have some issues. You can also see the tags around the PI information or something that needs to be secured. Close all this down and switch over to my logical view, which is another way to embark on the mind map itself. And here it's a more structural view of the different business policies, the tags, the regulations. If I expand all, you're going to see all those framework of those regulations. Here's my CCPA, Privacy Act, etc. Or I can start to expand out to the technical data behind this policy. So the data behind this policy is showing up in columns. And if I expand on the enterprise data warehouse, I can get to, again, all the columns and how they've been profiled and where I might have some good or bad data that I need to do some forensics on. So let's go back again to a technical point of view and head towards some data lineage. And I'm clicking on my enterprise data warehouse again. And I'm drilling into the enterprise data warehouse this time to see the catalog, so that business metadata enrichment around my data warehouse. I can see who created it, when it was created, when it was last updated, what database it's on, and then start to explore the tables and columns from a metadata perspective through these drill downs here. I'm going to select lineage and get that overview of the enterprise data warehouse itself and everything that's involved in this environment. So I can see all the different source systems. It's going through a data lake. It's going through some SSIS processes before it hits my production data warehouse and then out to my BI reporting environment. So most people at this point, when they're examining or looking at systematically looking and tracking this pipeline, start from the right and move their way to the left-hand side, because it's just more of a controlled view of the data as it flows. So if I go into my Tableau environment over here, I can start to expand by the reports and down to the report fields. And if I expand my data warehouse, I can get to the actual data elements that are linking out to those columns in the report. I see there's some transformation rules involved. and I can click into it to find out exactly how that data is moving. I'm going to go into my settings and turn on the data quality scores. And as I do that, you start to see these colors behind the columns themselves, and I can see where I have information that doesn't meet the threshold of integrity for that particular data element or that column. So it's telling me right away that contact title has some issues. It's only at a 32% threshold for some reason. I can see that customer ID looks pretty good. And if I click on this, I can immediately drill down into exactly where it's going into my MART and into the actual BI reports themselves. And it's giving me all of the metadata about that move, as well as the actual transformation behind what's moving it over into my reporting environment. Over here on the left-hand side, as I make my way back to the source system, we know that this is where we're going to start to hit a lot of complexity. And this is where you're probably going to start to do some tree pruning, if you will, to decompress and decomplicate some of the trees that are going on. So as I expand out to that column level again, I'm noticing that there's some third-party flat files, including a mobile application that's feeding the staging environment for after my big data lake. I can also expand the big data lake here. But what I wanted to point out was there's the columns here in this mobile application are well taken care of, and they're profiled, and we can see the green and the yellows here. And if I look at, let's just say address, and it's coming over to this particular column, the blue means that it gives us an NA. That's telling me that it has not been profiled. So the information in this entire staging area from Snowflake has not been profiled. And we know that there's some issues because I can see reds, I can see oranges, I can see where it's coming from. I can see this has not been profiled, but we know how good the data is here in the source system. So that's just an indicator and a map to understanding where I might have some complexity and where I can get proactive about looking at this data, profiling this data, and fixing any discrepancies. So I'm going to close up now some of this information. And the last thing that I want to show you is, let me get rid of my overview pane and build up my SAP just a little bit more. On the left-hand side, so I talked a lot about logical data models in my presentation, and SAP is kind of known for having some hard to read data elements and columns over here in their tables. If I'm a business person, none of these will probably make sense to me. So if I go over here and say turn on the logical names, it immediately turns on the business names or the logical names for those tables and columns. So if I want to understand it from a business perspective a little bit more, I can also look at it and click into this and understand the business policies and processes as well, like I did in the mind map. But this is giving me a much cleaner view of exactly where the information is coming from and an understanding of what these columns are. With that, I'm going to say goodbye, and please come out to the Erwin website and request a demo, and we'd love to meet with you and show you more. Thank you.